It is 7:19 on Wake Up. Thank you so much for tuning in this morning. I'm Gabby Smith, along with Damian Collado and Alicia Quibido. And joining me in our New Orleans studio, we have Dr. Thomas Ryan. He's a professor of theology and ministry, director of the Loyola Institute of Ministry. Good morning, Dr. Ryan.
Good morning.
Oh my goodness, it's so great to have you back in studio with us. It's good to be here on campus. It's so wonderful.
And students are coming back today.
Students are coming back today.
There's going to be a lot of life and energy on campus, I think.
We're excited.
Yep.
We can feel it already. So early in the morning, but we're in carnival season, and you can just feel it as you were driving down St. Charles, the decorations, the excitement. We're back.
And we're back. That's right. It's going to happen this year.
Yes, we're so excited. I was even thinking, it seems like my last Mardi Gras was so long ago. I mean, it was 2 years ago since we were out on St. Charles getting ready on that Friday. And so tell us your Mardi Gras reflection. We were talking about the good, the bad, and the ugly in this time of year.
Well, it's interesting when I talk to people from out of town, they say, "You bring your children to Mardi Gras," and I think that there are problems with Mardi Gras, and I think it's important to name them. That there's excess. Immoderation, waste. I mean, if you ever walk down St. Charles after after parades, the waste, the carbon footprint of Mardi Gras, I think it's important to recognize. I think there's been a tradition more in the past of exclusion of women, of Jews, of African Americans, of other ethnic groups. So there's sin, but I think it's important also to be on the lookout for grace, sin and grace, and so anyway, so that would be one response to people from out of town. There are problems, and there are parts of Mardi Gras that I wouldn't want my children to be a part of. So
that's what we were talking about, because we know Raymond Arroyo is an Endymion, it's a big deal. And one of the, I think it was Catholic News Agency, posted an article about him being in the parade, and the comments were like, how could we, as Catholics celebrate this, but we were talking about, we go to the family-friendly parts of the parade route for that reason. But also, I have always grown up knowing Mardi Gras as a preparation for Lent.
Sure.
And that's how I have always seen it.
Right. So one thing is that it points beyond itself and it anticipates this time of fasting. But I think it's important in itself. Jesus was criticized for eating and drinking and celebrating. The source and summit of our faith is a meal, is a celebration. And, I think that what happens on Mardi Gras, people get together. In fact, in the history of New Orleans, streets were often sources of separation between the ethnic groups, the American sector, the French sector. What happens to streets on Mardi Gras? People get together. People who would never rub shoulders with each other are rubbing shoulders, of all differences and all sorts are getting together. And, one of my favorite biblical passages is the prophet Isaiah's vision of the peaceable kingdom. The wolf will be the guest of the lamb, and the lion and the lamb will live with each other. So this vision of people who normally don't get along in the peaceable kingdom, and I get a sense of that at Mardi Gras. That families get together and they eat and they drink, hopefully in moderation. But there's something good about that, and something that doesn't happen the rest of the year and doesn't happen in other parts of the country. So Mardi Gras itself, I think, is good, has some really good and important and spiritual things in itself.
Yeah, talk about the one thing that we really look forward to is the king cake. I always like to wait till carnival season to have king cake. It's just not right in my opinion, but everyone is their own. But talk about the importance and the symbol of the king cake.
Well, for one thing, again, twice this year I've already gotten the baby. So
Oh my gosh, you're gonna have a great year.
well, I've had to provide king cake twice.
Oh, oh that is right.
But I think one thing is that in our office, in our college, it brings people together. It's a source of community. It's a source of gathering. Itself is a ring that kind of gathers people in. So so that's one of the things. But again, the goodness of food and of celebration and of community. So it brings us together.
Yeah, the excitement, we start off in New Orleans, in front of the cathedral, the Feast of St. Joan of Arc.
That's
right.
right.
We read the Declaration, and St. Joan of Arc is on horseback in the French Quarter, and it's just so cool to see how we're still keeping that. We have stuff like that till we have, parades for dogs, which I love Barkus, by the way, the crew of Barkus. So we value every part of life. I think during Mardi Gras, and the creation and the decorations as well is just breathtaking, the costumes and everything.
Right. Hey, that's right. So the creativity and the artistry that goes into it. I think another thing that's interesting about Mardi Gras is it has a prophetic edge, or it can have a prophetic edge, that parades mock things that need to be mocked. Costumes pay attention to contemporary issues and contemporary problems, and so Carnival is a way of kind of turning the tables on sometimes those who are in power and those who need to be critiqued. So there's that prophetic edge, which I think is important.
There's so much excitement building up to that Tuesday, Fat Tuesday, and then the next day we're humbled. It's Ash Wednesday. We're starting that 40 days. What can we do to prepare ourselves, prepare our hearts, for Fat Tuesday, but also in preparation for that day of Lent?
Well, I think one of the distinctive things about Catholicism is both and. So it's both celebration and fasting. And, the kind of Mardi Gras day, or that transition from Mardi Gras Tuesday to Ash Wednesday is that both and. And so I think, Carnival comes from Latin. It can be goodbye to flesh, but to recognize the goodness of the body, and to recognize the goodness of food and drink and family and togetherness, and then to, when Ash Wednesday comes, when Lent comes, to recognize the goodness of fasting and the importance of prayer, fasting, and almsgiving. So I think the both and, the celebration and the abstention are both important and reflect that both and aspect of Catholicism.
Absolutely. So we have about 3 minutes left. What is your favorite part of this time of year?
I think getting together. Well, this year, two of our daughters live out of town. They're going to come into town, and so getting together with family. I think sharing with people who are new to New Orleans the traditions of Mardi Gras and the goodness of Mardi Gras, and how to navigate Mardi Gras, because Mardi Gras can be difficult to navigate. Traffic and parking and crowds and things like that can be difficult. So I think kind of sharing my own, I grew up with Mardi Gras, kind of sharing my own stories and history of Mardi Gras with people who are new to New Orleans.
Yeah, my husband's from up north, and I've always lived in South Louisiana, so Mardi Gras is in my blood, and I always get excited this time of year wherever we go, but there's just a different excitement in the air this year, and I just think it's going to be good. I think it's good for the city. It's good for people right now to have this, and it really gets us. I have always felt prepared when Ash Wednesday comes. Okay, enough of the hustle and bustle. Let's get down to business.
Right, exactly. It's like, thank goodness it's over. One of the things we do is on Mardi Gras Day, we kind of ended at Café Du Monde in the last few years in City Park. And it's been kind of a nice, have some coffee and donuts and say, that's it. It's time to move on.
Yes, definitely. Well, we want to have you back on again to talk about Lent.
Yes.
Lent is different for everyone, and a lot of people, when it comes to Ash Wednesday, they probably don't have, and I can speak for myself, are not ready. They thought that they had their Lenten, journey ready to go, but it isn't until mid-Lent that you figure it out. And so we can talk about that once it gets closer, and things that have helped you or worked for you and stuff like that. So one last takeaway before we end our segment here.
Well, how, speaking of Ash Wednesday, how many people love Ash Wednesday, and what a good opportunity that is for evangelization. People all over the city, Catholic and non-Catholic, will go and get ashes on their foreheads. And so that is kind of a neat thing about Ash Wednesday.
Yeah, I always thought that was cool. Even when I was a student at LSU, how many students had ashes that day?
All day.
Sitting in class or anything like that. So very interesting.
Yeah.
Dr. Thomas Ryan, Professor of Theology and Ministry, Director of the Loyola Institute for Ministry, thank you so much for joining us. Hoping for a safe and fun carnival season for you.
Great to be here.
We'll touch back in Lent and get down to business.
There you go.
Get serious.
All right. Thank you so much.
Yeah, great. Thank you. Well, when we come back from the break, you guys, and I don't know about you, but I'm so excited. I actually have not had king cake this year. I know you had the baby twice already. So I'm hoping that we can get that going. But I don't know. I'm excited this year.